You know when you mess up and your parents are like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. That's how I feel right now. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. I'm your host as always, Clint McLean. And there is no UFC this week, and what that means is we are going to be doing a recap of UFC 241. It was a big event. Lots of stuff happened, lots to unpack. I want to go back and talk about our bets and our spots and all that good stuff because it was a terrible night from a betting perspective for the diehards and yours truly from the Die Hard MMA podcast. So let's unpack all that and go over it. Not going to be previewing anything this week. There is Bellator coming up on Saturday, but I will be honest, I'm feeling a little burnt out with everything that we've been doing lately. So I am going to take the much needed break. I will be taking the week off, not worrying about anything, not worrying about Bellator. If I find something I really like, I will tweet that play out. But more often than not, or more likely than not, I guess I should say, I'm just going to be chilling at home doing a whole lot of nothing this week. Maybe get a good workout in or something like that. I will start working on the China card that's coming up because I'm hungry, I am prepared, I will be prepared, and I want to crush that card. You all know bounce back season. When I have a bad night, I come back hard and I'm going to be motivated and ready. But right now I'm a little tired and I've got a window to take a break. So I'm going to do that. So just setting the expectations up right away. But I didn't want to leave you without a podcast. I almost didn't do a podcast this week. And man, I hate it when my favorite podcasters skip a week just because there's no MMA. I still need something to listen to while I'm at work. And, you know, MMA is my vice. That's what I want to hear about. That's what I want to talk about. So I couldn't leave y'all hanging. So here I am. We're doing the podcast this week. We are set. We are ready. We're good to go. It's probably going to be a little shorter than normal, obviously, because all we're doing is recapping the last event. But let's dig right on into it, shall we? Real quickly, I do want to remind everybody of our partnership with Bet Odds Sportsbook, betodds.ag. Football season's coming up. More MMA is right around the corner. If you need another book, if you need another place to put your bets down, they are offering Die Hard MMA podcast listeners a 100% deposit sign-up match bonus. Anywhere from $50 to $500, they will match that with a 100% rollover match bonus, which is pretty dang good. They're only offering 40 to 60% for anybody else who signs up. But if you listen to the Die Hard MMA podcast, you get 100%. So if you want, get over there, make a deposit, get some rollback money coming back your way. It's basically free cash that you can bet later on down the road. Use code FE6EFB so they know the Die Hard MMA podcast sent you, and you'll get that 100% bonus match unlocked. So I just want to start with the numbers. We went, I don't even want to look back at this. We went 2-4 on fight picks for minus 4.38 units on the night. That elusive unicorn of the 30 unit positive mark that I'm trying so desperately to hang on to just keeps eluding us. The 2019 record is 99-88 on fight picks, official fight picks, for plus 27.74 units. We are still up 27 units. Since the podcast started, we are still up over 27 units. That is nothing to sniff at. I've got to remind myself of that. These nights coming off these kinds of fights and those big losses, they suck. They suck. But we have got to keep in mind that overall we are still net positive. We will get it back. And it does suck coming off of a nice winning night to have such a massive losing night. It's like a punch right in the nuts. So let's get into it, shall we? At least we didn't pull the old infamous reverse sweep, huh? We didn't completely shit the bed, but it was close. The night started off in the women's flyweight division, and I'll be honest with everybody, I was at the San Diego Zoo with my family, with my daughter. She is turning 4 this year, and we thought it was a fun opportunity to get out and do something with the family, see some cool animals. So I missed the first couple fights of the night, and I was trying to monitor on Twitter. My boy at UFC Bro Picks, Justin, shout out to you, my man. He picked Sabrina Mazzo, and I thought he was nuts. I didn't want anything to do with this fight, but I had a lean to Shayna Dobson, and I just didn't see how he was so confident in Mazzo. But she did work. I mean, from I was listening to the commentary while we were walking around the zoo. My wife kept smacking me because I had my ear in so I could hear what the announcers were saying, but it sounded like Mazzo had full control of that fight from start to finish. So props to my boy. Glad he got a cash in. The second fight of the night was our big juicy dog Brandon Davis taking on Kyung-Ho Kang, and I'm going to have to go back and watch this one. I still haven't been able to. I can't muster up the energy to go watch this damn fight yet because it's all still too fresh. It's all still too new. Can't do it. I'm going to have to review that fight so we've got a better of idea stuff going forward. But from what I understand, I mean, I looked at the stats and stuff like that, and Davis was roughing Kang up on the feet. It sounded like it was 1-1 going into the third, and Davis just kind of stopped defending the takedown. And that was incredibly upsetting for me to hear because that was the whole reason I picked Davis in this spot was because he's so big, he's so strong, dropping down to 135. I thought he was going to be super successful stopping that takedown. Looking at the stats, they only credited Kang with 1 takedown on 3 attempts, which that's kind of what I expected to see, but if it came in the third and final round, that really sucks because that means he probably got laid on for the third round, and that's what gave the decision over to Kang. Regardless, it was a split, so one of the judges did still give us the opportunity to win that fight, and when you're looking at a split decision, you always want to be on the dog side. We've talked about that before. We had a nice plus money on Davis, and he just couldn't quite get it done. I'm gonna look very closely at that one. When I head back to rewatch that one, I'm gonna look very closely at it. I can't cry robbery. I asked on Twitter if it was robbery or not, and I kind of got mixed signals. So people betting on Davis obviously probably thought he had more of a shot to win the fight than he actually did. People that were unbiased, I think some of them said that Kang probably deservedly got the decision. So I don't know. I can't play judge and jury too much on that one. I feel like we had value on Davis, but it just didn't come through. And that was one that I felt confident taking that shot. I thought it was a good spot to take a dog shot. So I'm not, obviously I want to win every single bet, obviously, but I think that we had value on Davis in that spot at the line. It was a lot closer than the line made it look, and he's the kind of guy with the kind of skill set that could have pulled that off. So I'm not too upset about that one. It was kind of a gamble to start our night off, and I liked it. But, okay, sorry, I'm kind of stuck in a loop on this one. I'm going to go ahead and move on. The next fight was Hannah Cifers. Jodie Esquibel. Cifers just damn got the thing done. I know a lot of people parlayed Cifers and had her in a bunch of stuff, so props to all those, all you people out there cashing on Cifers. I wasn't that confident because Jodie Esquibel is the same body type as her, and I thought that might actually provide Esquibel with some opportunities. Because if she fights someone her size, not someone that's got a massive height and reach advantage on her, she can be dangerous. But I guess that's not the case here. So we steered clear of it. No big deal, no harm, no foul. Props if you cashed on Cifers. She was a good parlay piece. Now, Manny Bermudez versus Casey Kinney. You know what? Let me just go ahead and pause here and say this. UFC 241 was rough for us. It was really, really rough from a betting perspective. It could have been worse. Okay? We dodged some bullets because when I was breaking down this card and I was looking at this, I really thought Manny Bermudez was going to handily win this fight on the ground. I thought he was going to handle Casey Kinney, and I thought he was probably going to get another submission. I was able to lay off of that. We had enough action in other places. I had other picks that I was more confident in, but I was close to making Manny Bermudez an official pick. So thank God I didn't, because Casey got the decision there, and he showed up. He basically put a flag in the ground and said, nope, I'm not going anywhere. You all have underestimated me, and this fight is mine. Props to him. That was a hell of a fight. So the next fight, we went to the lightweight division. Christos Giagos and Drakkar Klose. The little bit of success that we did see at UFC 241 was our parlay. Those parlays that I put together where I'm bringing the prices down on people, we've got a real solid record on those. We seem to hit those more often than pretty much anything else, so I'm going to try and keep that in mind moving forward because that seems to be my sweet spot. Anyway, that fight goes about the way I expected it to. Christos Giagos comes out, has some success early, but then he gasses. He gasses out. Drakkar Klose looked exactly like Drakkar Klose. I didn't expect him to rewrite the book. I didn't expect him to completely change his style. I thought he would just be a slightly better, slightly more in-shape version of himself, and that's exactly what we got. And that's all it took to beat Giagos. at the beginning, when I first looked at UFC 241, I thought I was going to bet on Giagos. I really did. I thought the line was wide, and I thought there was some value on that guy. And then when I heard about the camp change and I dug a little bit more into it, Close, this fight was made for Close. I thought Close was going to get Giagos out of there in the third round after he gassed out. I really thought that Close was just going to put the finishing touches on him. But it was a stellar performance. It was a good fight. This whole card was good. When it comes from a fighting perspective, like an entertainment value perspective, this card was so good. Oh, it was a great one to watch. And even the free fights leading up to the pay-per-view, there were some solid fights. It was very enjoyable. So we cashed the first leg of our parlay there. We're looking good. Bantamweight, I guess we should have been on Corey Sandhagen. I wanted to be on Corey Sandhagen, but this was such a big step up for him, and I had this weird, spooky feeling. I didn't know what it was, but I had an awkward feeling that Rafael Assunção was going to pull something here and catch Corey in a spot that he didn't quite see coming. Just that old veteran move where you catch the young kid when they're not quite ready. But props to Sandhagen. He got the damn thing done. He came out there and completely schooled Assunção, controlled the fight basically from start to finish. Even the couple spots where it looked like it was going to get hairy, he had some really slick escapes and reverses that he was able to use to get out of stuff. And that right there is the kind of thing I wasn't expecting. I know he's good. I know he's the wave of the future. But when he got in those spots, when Rafael Assunção got control of his back, I thought it was going to get hairy. I thought things were going to be potentially bad for him, and he was able to just work his way out of there with something that Assunção didn't see coming. So props to Sandhagen, and props to everyone that bet on him. We should have been on him. We absolutely should have. And my gut spooking us chased us away from that one. So that's my bad. Now, capping off the preliminary card, we had the upset of the night. Holy shit. Kama Worthy comes in and KOs Devontae Smith. The biggest dog on the card comes in and gets it done in round one. And boy, am I glad we steered away from this one. I know there are some bridge jumpers out there that laid the wood with Smith and paid for it dearly. So something you may not know about this one is that apparently Devontae Smith and Kama Worthy had some training stuff together in the past, right? So they've been training partners before. They're friends. They've hung out. They got to know each other. It had been a while, but that doesn't change the fact that they were buddies at one point and training partners for each other. That plays differently on people mentally. So Devontae Smith is in the UFC. His opponent gets changed like freaking record-breaking 5 times this fight. And then he ends up with Kama Worthy. So he's thought, you know what? I'm going to fight this guy. You know what? I'm going to fight this guy. No, I'm going to fight this guy. And then the last guy on the list is, oh man, this is my buddy. Like, you know how bad that's got to suck? You're like, oh, dude, like the one guy I didn't want to end up fighting is the guy that I've got to fight now. Kama Worthy, on the other hand, he steps in here and goes, you know what? I've got to fight my friend, and that sucks. But this is my shot to get into the UFC. Devontae Smith is already in the UFC. He probably doesn't want to lay hands on his bro. And he's probably a little demotivated because of all the crazy changes in opponent and stuff like that. Kama Worthy, on the other hand, goes, tough shit, dude, this is my window. And I think that's exactly what happened. I think Devontae Smith was treating it kind of like a sparring session, and Kama Worthy came in for a fight. And that's what happened. I mean, Kama Worthy gets the KO in round 1. Everyone thought that his chin was going to get cracked and he was going to be the one that ended up going down, but damn, he lit Smith up. And it may have been a slightly early stoppage, but I mean, it wasn't so early that I would say they need to like overturn it or look back at it, yell at the ref, anything like that. It wasn't that bad. So interesting. Very, very interesting. If you threw some chump change on Worthy, I can't say I blame you since the line was so freaking wide, but props to you for getting that one. And this is going to be interesting moving forward. I wonder how that's going to impact the books as far as Devontae Smith goes, because I'm actually still pretty high on Devontae Smith, and this type of a loss to a relatively unknown fighter with a record like 13-6, that might weigh on the bookies, The bookies might take a look at this and be like, oh, maybe he's not what we thought he was. Well, he probably is what you thought he was. And like I said, there's a lot of mental gymnastics that went into this fight. So we might get a better price on Devontae Smith moving forward. So just kind of keep that in mind. Keep an eye out for that one. So the pay-per-view kicks off, and this is where it all went straight to hell. Oh, boy. So Ian Heinisch, first and foremost, we laid minus 170 on Ian Heinisch. And I do the podcast on Tuesdays, so I take whatever line is available to me on Tuesdays. That's how it works. That's how, everybody gets my picks, everybody gets my lines, and there's no question as to whether or not I'm giving anybody, stale lines or I don't know. I don't want to deal with any of that bullshit. So whatever line is available to me on Tuesday when I do the podcast is what I take, unless I specifically tweet it. We lock Heinisch up at minus 175, and I would have paid up to 200 for Heinisch. I really would have. I was considering throwing him in a parlay. Now I'm glad I didn't, but I was very much considering throwing him in a parlay because I was highly confident on Ian Heinisch in this spot. And considering I was going to, take him all the way up to minus 200, I didn't hate the minus 175 one bit. I really thought he was going to roll Derek Brunson over. Brunson has not showed us anything. Brunson has been, in my opinion, degrading, declining. He looked terrible in his last fight. He's one of those guys that had all the athleticism, all the pieces, and just never put it together. And I didn't honestly expect that to change. He's 35 years old. That's where you start seeing people kind of start to dip off a little bit, head towards the twilight of their careers, not get better. And he proved me wrong. There were a lot of people that came in on Derek Brunson, and congratulations, y'all cashed, and you got a really great spot to do so. But one thing I got to remind everybody of is Ian almost put him out in the first round. Ian came out and threw a freaking head kick and almost put this dude away in the first round. And that's one of those things that we are a hair's edge away from this whole thing being different. We are one split second away from this whole thing changing. That head kick lands just a little bit more flush. It caught Brunson completely off guard, and it hurt him. If he goes down and crumples after that kick, we come out of here smelling like roses. Now, Ian, I think he kind of gassed a little bit, which is uncommon for him. He slowed down a bit. Brunson really dissected his game very, very well. So again, all props to Derek Brunson in this spot. I think Ian ran out of tools. Brunson was supposed to go away when he put it on him early because Brunson starts a little bit slow and he's got a questionable chin. Well, he didn't. So then Ian thought, okay, well, I'm just going to keep coming and I'm going to overwhelm him. I'm going to hurricane him like I do everybody else. That's great. That's perfect. But you know what? Brunson still didn't go away. So then it gets to the third round and Ian's like, well, I guess I'll wrestle. That ain't going to work. That's the one thing that you have zero chance of getting done in this spot against Derek Brunson is out grappling him. So he can defensive grapple, keep this thing on the feet, but there was no way he was going to take Derek down. And that's when, as soon as Ian started going for those takedowns, I was like, oh no, this is bad. Because he had ran out of options. So that sucked for us. That really sucked for us. I mean, Ian is still relatively new to the UFC. He had kind of a meteoric rise, kind of like maybe Mike Perry. He got up, he got a big name, and he didn't get the Brunson that we thought he was going to get. He got 2.0 Brunson. He got improved Brunson. He got a smart Derek Brunson. He got a Brunson that we've honestly never seen before. So we need to keep an eye out on both of these guys moving forward. I think that Ian will learn from this loss, and I think he will come back better, stronger, faster. That's just the kind of guy he is, and he never quits. And I think that Brunson is someone to keep an eye out moving forward because now that he has changed it up, now that he's revamped himself, and he did an interview where he was talking about how Dominic Cruz told him that he needs an actual head coach. He needs specialized coaches and training. And I saw that he was working with the 170-pound champion, Kamaru Usman, on his wrestling, which Derek's wrestling has always been there. He just fell in love with his speed and his knockout power, and that's been something he's gone to basically ever since, and that's been kind of the problem for him. So if he's really leveling out, if he's really putting it all together, Derek Brunson could be a force moving forward. He could finally live up to all the standards that everyone had for him going into it. I'm curious what his next fight is going to be, because after that performance, we'll probably get him right around even money. There may even be some people who are still looking to fade him, assuming that he's the same old Brunson, and we might get a really good price on Derek in his next fight. So let's keep an eye out for that too. Anyway, that was a tough pill to swallow. It was a really hard pill to swallow, because basically the one thing in the world that I said Derek had no chance of doing is what he came out and did. So I want to talk just a second on that. I come from a poker base when it comes to my gambling stuff. You all know that if you've been here for a while. And sports betting in mixed martial arts is a lot like poker in the thought that it's a game of incomplete information. We have to collect all the information we possibly can. We have to look at it from every angle that we can figure out. And then we have to make the best decisions that we possibly can based on that incomplete information. Now, you get sports like baseball, basketball. It's stat heavy. You've got years and years and years worth of research. You've got incredibly long careers that these basketball NBA players can have. You can crunch all of those numbers down, and using a model can spit out information that can tell you whether or not something is a good or a bad bet. Mixed martial arts is not like that. You have to watch every single fight. You have to watch every single moment of these fighters. You have to track them on social media. You've got to see what their camps are doing. You've got to see what direction their teammates are trending in. You've got to see if they had a girlfriend break up with them one night. You have to watch all of that stuff, because it all factors in for these guys. And that's a hard thing to do. And it's a hard thing to come up with good, positive bets on a regular basis in mixed martial arts, but that's what we're trying to do. And we got caught here. This one stung because we didn't know what Brunson was coming with. We thought we knew what Brunson was coming with, but we were wrong. So we laid a bad price with Ian, and I almost put another unit on him when that price crashed because of all the money coming in on Brunson. I was that confident in him. And when I say we dodged a couple of bullets on UFC 241, that was another one, because I felt in my gut that Ian was just going to be too much for Derek Brunson, and we almost laid another unit of wood on him. So, woof. Let's take that lesson. We'll put it in our pocket. That one is one that, like I said, we almost won it in the first round. We could have gotten it done. It didn't happen. We just got to kind of move on. It sucks that we laid such a stiff price on it and didn't have that one right. So I think that's the one that really stings probably the most on this entire card for me. The next fight was at featherweight. Gabriel Benitez facing Sadiq Youssef, and our boy Sadiq got it done. Woo! Cashed the parlay for us. That should have been a 2-unit parlay. Looking back on it, I was sitting there at fight night and I was like, dang, dude, like if there was anything I could change, it was that I wanted to throw another unit on this one. And I'm talking about dodging bullets. Now I'm talking about adding extra units on. Like, we could have done a couple different things this card. There's many ways this card plays out a whole heck of a lot differently. And I didn't pull the trigger on that one because honestly, I was a little concerned about the price that we were getting on it, but it was perfect. It really was perfect. This is one where we laid both of these fights out, and they both happened exactly the way that we thought they would. They both happened exactly the way we needed them to, and honestly, we got lucky in that area. Having a fight go exactly the way that you think it's going to is not a common thing. It's not something that's easy to do because so much can happen and so much can go wrong in a mixed martial arts fight. You literally just never know. Anyway, that one cashed for us. It cashed for us good and easy. Thank God it stopped the bleeding just a little bit. We got a tad bit back there on that one. Oh boy, Yoel Romero versus Paulo Costa. Did you watch this fight? Damn. I mean, Yoel looked better than he ever has. That was the best version of Yoel I have ever seen. He did not plod forward slowly. He did not take off half of a round at a time. He was throwing punches and kicks, spinning stuff, sticking his tongue out at Costa. He was moving around. I mean, he had a better gas tank in this fight than I have ever seen for Yoel. He really worked on his gas tank for this fight, and it showed. He showed up, and I am so happy I didn't let my bias cloud me on this one because we would have laid the wrong price with Yoel. This thing was a freaking coin flip, and I didn't want to touch it because exactly what happened. Paulo Costa, I don't want to be sucked into the recency bias thing. I'm trying not to. It's difficult for me. I am trying not to have a recency bias here, but Paulo Costa might be our future 185-pound champion, folks. He damn well might be, because he looks like a heavyweight in there. And he answered every single question that I had about him. Every single one. He stuck in there with the very best version of Yoel that we've ever seen. He dropped him, which is something that does not happen a lot. And he took everything Yoel had to offer. And in my opinion, Yoel is the most damaging, dangerous striker in that division. If you can tank the damage of Yoel, you can take the damage of pretty much anybody else at 185. That was a phenomenal performance from Paulo Costa. If you were on him, congratulations on that, Cash, because he is something. He is something else. Now, I don't know. I'm not trustworthy on that decision. It was a split decision, and I could have seen it either way. I really thought it was 1-1 going into the third again, but I don't know which way I would take it. I feel like Yoel did most of the damage, obviously, by Costa's face. And he slightly outlanded Costa. My heart says Yoel won that fight. But, again, I'm trying not to be biased about it. And this is why we didn't bet on it in the first place, is because I was very biased towards Yoel. I love that guy. So you can't take my decision here for much. You can't give much credit for the way I would score this fight, because I honestly think Yoel probably won that one. This is another one, though, that I steered clear of using that term robbery. I learned my own lesson from the last week, and I totally stayed away from the term robbery because it was not a robbery. If you gave that fight to Yoel, I can see it. If you gave that fight to Costa, I absolutely can see it. So it could have gone either way. It really could have. It was a close fight, and it was, that was one of the best fights I think we've had in a long time, and we've had a lot of good fights so far in 2019, so thank you, UFC, for putting that one together. But I'm stoked to see what happens in this three-legged race that is the 185-pound division, because Whittaker and Adesanya is going to be a damn fun fight. And then you've got Paulo Costa waiting in the wings, and he is so much bigger than either of those guys. The way that the type of output that he has, how fast he is for being such a big guy, and how hard he hits, I don't know if anybody can take that. I really don't. Yoel might be the only guy who can stand toe-to-toe with this man and back him up. I don't know if Rob's got that in him, and I only say that I'm a huge fan of Robert Whittaker, don't get me wrong. I think I'm leaning stylebender in their fight. I like the way that Israel plays chess in mixed martial arts fights, and I think he matches up very well against Robert Whittaker. Whereas Whittaker, I think, maybe matches up better with Costa than Israel Adesanya will. I wonder if... Now, I know Israel Adesanya is plenty strong. He's plenty explosive. He's a damn good fighter in every sense of the word. But I am worried that Costa would be able to physically bully him just because of his, physical prowess, just how muscled and strong he is. I wonder if that would be a problem, more so for a tall, skinny fighter like Adesanya than it would be for a short, stocky, fellow muscular fighter like Robert Whittaker. Either way, I want to see all three of those guys fight each other. I want to see all three of them do war. They can just round robin that shit. I will be so happy if Israel Adesanya beats Whittaker and then they have Costa come up and face him. Don't care who wins or loses, and then give Whittaker his rematch after he rests up a little bit with whoever is the current champ. I would love that. I just want to see them round robin that whole thing up there. Those fights are going to be damn fun and interesting. So we move on to the co-main event, and okay, brace yourselves. I got some hot fire take here for you. I can hear the keyboards clickety-clacking away over there already. I'm gonna piss some people off. I'm gonna see that follower number dip off after, as soon as this one comes out. I'm gonna see that follower number drop. I don't think this fight is everything everybody is making it out to be. Now, I love Nate Diaz. I I talked about this, though, when we made the pick on Anthony Pettis. Diaz didn't do anything different from what he normally does. He made some of the same moves, some of the same choices, and he got in there and he felt and he flowed, and that's what he did, and that's how he started doing the clinch game. And that was something that was not part of the game plan, but he just kind of naturally progressed to it. And I think that fight is completely different if Anthony Pettis doesn't break his ankle. Everyone's talking about how phenomenal Nate Diaz was and how he shut down absolutely everything that Pettis tried to do. But Pettis broke his damn ankle in round 1. Now, I know I'm going to have keyboard warriors coming at me for this one and throwing heat at me. But have you ever tried to fight with a foot injury? Have you ever worked out or done anything with an ankle or a foot injury? Let me tell you, I've never broken my ankle. I almost did. In jiu-jitsu, I was wrestling with a fellow heavyweight, and he came down. I had my hooks in. I had back control on this dude. And instead of rolling off to the side or something like that, he decided it would be a fun idea to just flop on his belly. He actually later on got kicked out of the gym for hurting other practitioners and other students on purpose. So I gotta wonder if that wasn't on purpose. Looking back on it these days, I wonder if maybe he did that on purpose to try and hurt me. But he flops on his belly while I've got my hooks in his back. I'm on his back, I've got my hooks in, and he flops down, my ankle gets twisted, and my foot gets smashed underneath both of us. I could barely walk to work. I didn't break my ankle, but my foot swelled up so bad, and I couldn't hardly get myself into my day job. Imagine being trapped in a cage with a straight killer. Imagine having that injury, not being able to put all your weight on your foot, and having to fight for your life. That's what Anthony Pettis just had to do, and everybody's just showering Nate Diaz with praise. He cut him off. He completely shut his game down. Anthony Pettis was supposed to be the faster fighter. He couldn't move away from Nate. That's not what happened. Pettis couldn't move. He broke his ankle in the first frickin' round, and he stopped throwing kicks. He stopped moving, and he started losing the grappling exchanges. And that was because he couldn't put weight on it. It was unstable. And he obviously couldn't outmove Diaz because he was unable to utilize his footwork. And I listened to the Anakin Florian podcast. I heard Kenny Florian downing Anthony Pettis' footwork. And I just think that's so unfair. I really feel like that's unfair in this circumstance because if a guy, so we knew the game plan coming into this. Anthony Pettis said so himself. The game plan is to outmove Nate Diaz, to stick and move, to pick and poke, to piece him up. And in round 1, he was doing that. He was doing exactly that. For the first 2.5 minutes of this fight, he was outmaneuvering Diaz. He was landing some big shots, and he was hurting Nate Diaz. Let me tell you, you go back and you rewatch that first round, he was hurting Nate Diaz because he was cutting angles, and every single time Nate tried to clinch up with him, he was able to shove him off and circle out. Pettis was doing exactly what he needed to do to win that fight. Now, I'm not saying that we necessarily just win if Anthony doesn't break his foot, right? This is a fight. There were still 2.5 rounds to go. But I picked Anthony Pettis from the beginning based on that game plan. So yeah. I think if Anthony Pettis doesn't break his foot that he wins that fight. I thought he won the fight before the fight started. Seeing the first couple minutes of that fight when he had a healthy ankle and what he was doing with it, I absolutely believe that game plan works. I believe it works over 15 minutes, and I believe he banks at least 2 rounds and wins round 1 and 2 at the bare minimum and then puts Nate Diaz away. I mean, I don't know if he finishes him, but I really think he wins at least 2 out of 3 rounds using that style, that strategy. I really do. So props to you if you're all team Nate Diaz, because he's an awesome guy. I love him. I'm glad he's back. I really am. I'm not hating on anybody, not hating on him. I'm very glad that we get to see him fight again, but I think we got robbed. And you all know, you know me, I do not bullshit you. I do not sit here on this microphone and tell you stuff that I don't believe is true. And even when I have a fighter that I'm a fan of, somebody like a Yoel Romero, I am able to swallow my personal opinion and pride and pass on a fight like that because I know that I'm blinded by my bias. So the fact that I'm sitting here and telling you that I think this fight plays out entirely differently if it wasn't for that broken ankle, you know I'm not kidding. I really think that. And I think that Anthony's getting a bit of a bad rap. Everyone immediately goes back to, oh, he always guesses. Oh, he always gets hurt. He fails every time he gets to the top. He just struggles and then you know what? All that may be true in the past, but this is a freak accident. And I was talking to somebody on Twitter and they were like, well, Anthony broke his ankle because Nate Diaz checked a kick. It's like, so Nate did a good job to break his ankle. It's like, that's not really how it works either though. Cause yeah, Nate Diaz checked the kick and that was good on him. Good job checking the kick. You're supposed to check kicks, right? But just because you check a kick doesn't mean you break the guy's ankle. That's also not how it works. If you check a kick, you're protecting yourself. You're dealing back a little bit of pain, just letting them know there's a little resistance there. It's still a fluke to have your ankle break. Anderson Silva's leg break from checking a kick. That's not something that happens often. You know what I mean? So this fight, unfortunately for me, I mean, I'm bummed we lost this one because I really felt like we had a good spot in this fight. I'm going to put it in the category of Conor versus Aldo. I'm going to put it in the category of Aldo versus Ben Askren. I think this fight plays out completely differently if the freak situation doesn't happen. He broke his ankle. That's not something that happens a lot. And this fight is completely different if Anthony Pettis has a healthy ankle to walk on and plant on and use to kick throughout the rest of that fight. If Conor McGregor doesn't KO Jose Aldo in 7 seconds or whatever it was, I want to see that fight. I want to watch Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo play chess with their fists and see who comes out on top in that fight. I want to see what happens if Masvidal doesn't flying knee KO Ben Askren in the first 3 seconds of the fight. I want to know what happens when that doesn't happen because I want to know if Masvidal can take the pressure. I want to know if Askren can get the takedown. I want to see that fight play out. This is one that I wish we got back. This is one I wish we got back because I feel like Nate got all the shine. Anthony really got stiffed. And on top of all that, we lost our damn bet. I'm done ranting on that one now. Go ahead, attack me in the keys. You can get on your keyboards, attack me in the comments. Let me know how wrong I am. And I'm sticking to my guns on this one. I don't think that was a bad bet. I do not think that Anthony Pettis was a bad bet. We got very unlucky for that to happen. We go on to the heavyweight main event, Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic. And this is just, really, it's the culmination of all the things, all the chips falling against us on one night. And once again, I will tell you, I do not think that Daniel Cormier was a bad bet for this fight. So he comes out and he does exactly what we want him to, right? He wrestles. He strikes. He's the faster guy. He's the more technical guy. He's the better fighter. All the things that we wanted to see. I am so happy to lay that minus 145 on Daniel Cormier in this spot. And I would do it again in a heartbeat because he was the better fighter. But something happened in this fight that doesn't normally happen. And actually, I'll go back on that. It doesn't ever happen. This never happens. Daniel Cormier made a bad choice in a fight. He ignored his corner. He got away from the game plan. And one of the reasons that I love betting on Daniel Cormier for is because he is such a tactician. It's because he is so smart. And it's because he sticks to a game plan. He puts people away. He didn't do that this time. And when he got back to his corner at the end of round 2 and his coach is screaming at him, "What are you doing? That's not the game plan. Follow the damn game plan." And he looks at his coach and he goes, "Am I losing?" I went, "Oh shit, we're going to lose this one too." The second that happened, I went, "Son of a bitch. We are going to lose this fight." Because Daniel Cormier dominated Stipe Miocic for 3 full rounds. If this was a 3-round fight, we win this thing. He dominated him from bell to bell for 3 full rounds. And somehow he didn't know that he was winning that fight. He didn't have the confidence in himself. He didn't have the mental fortitude to understand that he was dominating that fight. And then he also was not listening to his corner. Those two things killed us. Stipe comes out and gets the damn thing done at the end of round 4. And all of round 4, I was screaming at my TV. I was screaming at the TV. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Because it was in the bag. And Daniel was so obviously the more accomplished wrestler, the more powerful wrestler, that he could have just put Stipe on his back for the next 2 rounds and won an easy decision. But instead, he decided he wanted to strike with an actual heavyweight and just have a pissing contest and prove that he was going to knock him out again. It was a bad move. It was a bad choice. His corner was begging him not to do it. I was begging him not to do it, and he paid for it. And that's something that, once again, Stipe showed up in a way that we've never seen before. Stipe showed up, and he got it done in a way that we didn't understand or we didn't plan for. I mean, yes, you can say, okay, the people that bet Stipe, they knew he would have a striking advantage or that he'd be able to get it done on the feet, that kind of thing. Sure, okay, you want to say that, that's fine, but he lost 3.5 rounds. He got his ass kicked for over 3.5 rounds. So, and you know what? Again, all credit to Stipe. He made a fantastic adjustment. Going to those body shots was such a smart move, completely flipping the script of the fight. He did a wonderful job. He really did. He did what he had to do. But if they fought again, I would bet on Daniel Cormier again. He's the more well-rounded fighter, and if he had just stayed focused and locked in, he would have won that fight. So, long story short, when we go back on all of this, the only pick that I'm upset about, the only pick that I feel like we could have done something else about, is the Ian Heinisch pick. I could have maybe gotten away from that one. I believed in DC. I believed in Pettis. Both of those situations were freak accidents that went against us, and we got extremely unlucky in both of those spots. Brandon Davis was a live dog. We got dang near everything we wanted out of him, and he almost got it done. The parlay was an easy casher. So long story short, even though we had a really rough night, this is sports betting, folks. This is the shit that happens when you put your money on other human beings fist fighting in a cage. Sometimes the nights are bad. Sometimes the picks go against us. I liked our spots. I don't think we did anything wrong last week. Thank you for sticking with me, diehards. I got to give a couple shout outs. First and foremost, my main man, Baseball Bob, coming through big again this week. Love you, man. Bump. That was a fist bump through the microphone if you didn't get that. We've got some new subscribers over on YouTube. Welcome, Filipino Assassin 1, Biker Boy 72. We've got J1989W, Ronald Fanglin, and I don't know how to say your last name. I butchered that. I'm sorry. We have a person subscribing, and Idudek. Welcome to the Die Hard MMA podcast, folks. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this thing. I wanted to run through a full recap, and I appreciate your time. Looking forward to next week. We will bounce back. We will get the units back. We will get over that 30-unit hump. I promise you it's coming. Thank you. At DieHardMMA Pod. Comment. Throw me some questions. Tweet at me. Hit me up. We got this. Let's roll.